To love is to take something as yourself. Now, it's impossible for there not to be a state of connectedness when we do this. It's impossible when you take something as yourself to not care about its needs, to not know them so as to meet them. But let's be honest. Most of us didn't grow up in this type of a situation. If we did, we're damn lucky and probably don't need to be watching this video. Probably should, just in case we have other people in our lives that should be watching this video. But all right, for the rest of us who basically did not grow up in this type of situation, nobody took us as part of themselves. So nobody could actually consider our best interest and meet our best interest and meet our needs. For those of us who are just so fortunate enough to end up in that type of a situation in childhood, then we form connections in the same way that a spider forges a web to catch flies. People who are not loved feel unlovable for who they are. They live in a permanent internal atmosphere of shame. As a result, love, as a gift, seems impossible. Someone simply wanting to be connected to us seems impossible. Someone wanting to give to us because it makes them happy to see us happy is impossible. Instead, we have to get love by giving something. Our love becomes completely transactional. And we don't even realize that this is happening. We think it's love. But here's where it gets really, really gritty. If our self-esteem is poor enough, we don't actually believe we have something of value to give someone enough that they would want to give us something back. So our transactional nature takes a drastic downward spiral in which we feel like we actually have to trap people into giving us what we need. Many households around the globe, regardless of what culture these households belong to, parent without love. They parent in the way that a spider catches flies. But I'm gonna have to get you to understand the way this happens, and so I'm gonna have to pick the cultures that are perhaps the very most like this. The Asian culture and the Indian culture. So that you can understand, I'm going to give you a highlight from the Indian culture. Okay, so to generalize, in this culture, a person is not really seen as a unique individual with free will and their own purpose, who exists to be loved and enabled to follow their own path. A person in this culture is seen as a thing that belongs to their family and to society, and that by virtue of being born in the first place, he or she is already in debt to the family and society and will repay that debt through serving whatever role and identity has been decided for them. In these kinds of homes, a parent often believes they're sacrificing everything for their child, when in fact they're not sacrificing anything. They're simply wearing the facade of sacrifice so they can trap their children with shame and guilt in the sense that they owe their parents in some way. The things these parents give always come with invisible strings attached. They're always giving in order to get back. They're engaged in a transaction that the child did not even agree to in the first place. They're simply putting the child in a state of debt to them. They're giving things to this child simply so that they can get things back from the child. Any time the child does something that displeases them, the child's debts, the things the parents have done for them, are hung over the child's head so as to get the child to surrender their free will and conform again to what the parent wants. These parents give their time to a child and potentially even give up their own dreams to get the sensation of being good and righteous and receive gratitude and praise from others. In this way, they're martyrs. These parents put a roof over their children's head to get loyalty and alliance. These parents feed their children to guarantee that they will be taken care of by their children when their children are grown and they are elderly. These parents give their children opportunities so that they can gain status. These parents say, I love you because look at everything I do for you, but the reality is that it doesn't feel like love because it isn't. It's a spider web that the children have been trapped in. So you can understand the horror of growing up in this type of a family, and you don't have to be part of these two cultures I've highlighted in order to be part of this type of a family. What happens here is that anytime the child accepts something that the parent does for them, which, by the way, the child can't not do because it's dependent on the parents, an invisible string is attached. So by the time this person is an adult, string, 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 until this child is so controlled that there are massive consequences for not complying. Transactional love and the twisted web that it weaves is a human epidemic on the planet today. It's present in any type of a classic dysfunctional home, with the presence of a narcissist and a codependent type dynamic. This is not a household of love. So it's really funny to me when I walk inside these kinds of households, because so many of them have these plaques on the wall, at least in America, plaques that say, there is great love in this home. And really, it's like somebody should take the plaque off the wall, scratch it off, and write, there is great manipulation in this house, and hang it as the family emblem in the house. I talk about manipulation at length and what creates it in one of my videos that I strongly encourage you to watch. It is called Meet Your Needs. One of the biggest problems with being raised in a transactional type of love relationship in childhood is you grow up to believe that there's no other type of love that exists. This becomes your platform for how to have a relationship. You don't even see that anything's out of order. We basically approach every relationship in our life as if it's a business deal, but it's a lot more dysfunctional than a business deal because these strings that are attached are invisible instead of visible. If I do this, then they'll do this. Our whole life is tit for tat. Now, when we enter into a business type of relationship, we expect this. I will give you this, and you will give me that. But that's transparent. It's the transparent nature of these business relationships that we don't do in our private life that makes them so incredibly dangerous. We basically have all kinds of writing that's not even written down. It's not even about the fine print. So you get trapped and you get yourself in debt when you didn't even agree to it. Now, here is where this gets incredibly painful. Expressions of love are instantly equated with the sensation of owing someone. Now, owing someone, being in debt, is not fun because it's a subservient position. There is no equality in that. And so we will naturally avoid it at all costs. The name of the game, if we are in this type of transactional relationship dynamic with people, is you keep them in debt to you, and not the other way around. The one who's in debt is the one who's trapped in the spider's web under the control of the spider. You will actually feel worse the more someone is loving towards you. Each thing they do for you makes you feel more and more enmeshed, more trapped in the spider's web, less and less free, more and more in debt, and eventually, like you're going to have to give away your free will and your desires and your needs in order to repay the debt. This is when your enmeshment trauma kicks in, and you have to withdraw to maintain your sense of free will and identity. At this point, you either push the other person away or have to create a situation where the debt is paid off entirely so that you can put them back in debt to you. You are doing this because you learned in your childhood that love equals being trapped. Those of you who want to believe that the spider's web analogy is just Teal's way of being extreme and explaining things in an extreme way so people understand it, think again. On an energetic level, this is actually the relationship that's occurring. The spider either simply catches the fly because it flew into the web, which is the same thing as a child just being innocently born into a family, or because it finds a way to lure the fly in, the same way that a person offers something to someone else. But in either scenario, there are strings attached. Either way, the fly gets stuck to the webbing. The person is trapped in the same way the fly is trapped. Then the spider feeds off the fly. This is the phase where the person gets his or her needs met through the forced transaction. They are taking what they believe they deserve, but that the person didn't agree to giving as an exchange in the first place. For example, a mother has a child and decides that she needs that child to be a professional athlete so she can have status and significance through that child. The transaction is that she will give her hours to drive the child to classes and spend money so that the child can become that thing. The child never agreed to this transaction, but anytime the child expresses his or her own free will, the mother will remind the child he or she is trapped in debt. I gave all this money and time to you so you could be this thing. You're so selfish. The guilt makes the child continue to become a professional athlete. The mother feeds on this status and significance through the child. She is literally eating her child that was trapped in her web by virtue of being born to her and having any needs at all. I'm also going to explain, if we're into this transactional relationship type of dynamic when it comes to love, I'm going to explain another common pattern. If our self-esteem is so incredibly low that we don't believe that we can actually offer anything that is of enough value to get a genuine transaction going, as dysfunctional as that is, then we go a step further. We realize that one of the most perfect ways to put somebody in debt to us is to rescue them. So we become a perpetual rescuer. We can't be loved for who we are, so we got to do something to rescue them. Now, here's the problem. When a person gets rescued, if we rescue them, they naturally start to get better, right? There's a point at which they start to rehabilitate, they start to get on their feet again. Now, when we're in this type of a position, we stand to risk the loss of them. And so what do we have to do? We have to put them in debt again. Otherwise, they're going to leave us, right? We don't have anything valuable enough to offer them so that they stay. So what we do is we create a scenario that makes them need rescue again. And by coming in and rescuing, we put them in debt again to us. So we're actually creating a situation where they owe us over and over and over and over again. That's another type of dysfunctional transactional relationship. You will see this pattern chronically in alcoholic homes or homes where a codependent has married somebody who's mentally ill. You've got a person who has a dysfunction already, and it's a genuine dysfunction. So when that person starts to improve, it creates terror in the other one. And so they actually create scenarios that cause a flare-up of either the addiction or the mental illness so as to collapse the person. And it's one of the reasons why recovering is so incredibly hard for a person who's trapped in that type of a dynamic. If somebody tried to collapse somebody who didn't have a dysfunction already, it wouldn't work. The person would immediately feel the pattern at play and would leave the relationship. But the person with a dysfunction can't because they have a real genuine problem. This kind of desperate dependency is the closest that a person raised in a transactional way can feel to the guarantee that they will never be abandoned. They believe that being left by a person without a dysfunction is inevitable because they don't have enough to offer someone who does not desperately need them for the transaction of meeting their needs because they've already learned they cannot be loved for who they are. If you were raised in this type of home, what you aren't aware of that I'm hoping to make you aware of today is that the name of the game in your relationship is get people in debt to me. We have to have transactional relationships, right? But the major thing that's destroying your relationships and also your own capacity to feel good because you're going to feel resentment 24 hours a day is that you put them in contracts they never agreed to, and this is what you're not seeing. These are subconscious, undisclosed agreements and contracts that you have with these people. One of the reasons you didn't directly express these subconscious contracts you have with people, the strings attached, is that you're not consciously aware of them. Also, somewhere deep inside of you, the part of you that is aware of them knows that if you expressed these contracts or expectations directly, that no one would agree to them. So your needs would never get met. So you're just going to have to get it without their knowledge or without their consent. I'm going to give you some examples. You figure out quickly how to meet their needs so that you can guarantee that you will be indispensable for them. This is called hooking someone. You give up something in your life with the expectation that they give up the same thing for you. You show them physical affection with the expectation that they're going to give it back to you. You give them freedom and space so you can get that from them. You pay for dinner so that you can avoid being in debt to them, and instead you can put them in the position of debt to you. You help them out in a time of need by doing something for them so that you can guarantee their alliance and loyalty. You do things for them so that you can get appreciation. You give them a gift with the expectation that they will never say something bad about you. You are always counting score. So using this previous scenario, let's say that you give somebody a gift so that you can guarantee that they will never say something bad about you. You're basically buying loyalty. They didn't know that's what it meant when they took the gift. They weren't saying, oh, and this means I'm always going to lie to you and I'm never going to say anything bad about you. They never agreed to that. So obviously, because that wasn't a transaction that they agreed to, maybe they talk crap behind your back. And now you're like, how dare they after what I did? There's the expectation. You feel betrayed because betrayal is about a breaking of a presumptive contract. However, it's presumed on your part and never agreed to on their part. So doing this with people sets up a recipe for lifelong resentment. Basically, what I want you to understand is you're doing the same thing to them that your parents did to you when you were a child. The roles have reversed. You're the parent now, trapping the kid in a situation where they're frozen under the weight of now being in debt when they didn't even realize that was the situation they were getting into by accepting something. Now here is probably the worst part about this transactional relationship dynamic. Now that you're in this place where you feel like somebody did you wrong or betrayed you because the transaction wasn't fair on their part, You're in a situation where the only way to stay feeling like a good person because of your deep-seated feeling of shame, and on top of the debt game, is to feel like someone has wronged you. You have to be in a place where what somebody else did to you is unfair. You are dependent on a state of resentment, which is being unfairly wronged, to escape your deep-seated core of shame. And you're full of anger that you most likely can't express because of this dynamic. I want you to see what parenting is supposed to look like without this dynamic. In this type of a household, the parent understands that the child did not ask to be born. That's something that the parent decided. And what is being given to them by the universe is this precious gift, which is not actually theirs in the first place. It's the universe's gift, and they have been charged with the guardianship of this thing and the enabling of it to move in the direction of its own predetermined destiny. End of story. So this child is like a gift to unwrap, to see what it has in its essence in terms of purpose and desire and motive. This relationship is a partnership, not a dictatorship. The universe had trusted this parent with this incredible gift, knowing that the partnership between them will lead to the expansion and spiritual progression of both the parent and child. This child is meant to be seen by the parent as part of him or her. This love will naturally inspire the parent to demonstrate his or her love to the child through affection and gifts and quality time and acts of service and appreciation. When these demonstrations of love are done, they are not done to get anything back. They are done because it feels good to demonstrate love to something that you love. You do not need incentive. Doing something lovely for them feels like doing something lovely for yourself when you have taken something as part of yourself. And all beings, including children, naturally demonstrate love back when they feel reciprocal love, which a child always will. Both parent and child are free, and so they are free to love each other and demonstrate this love to each other. The child didn't have to do anything for the parent or be anything for the parent to feel this love. This is the kind of love you wanted from your parent, and this is the kind of loving relationship you still want, the kind with no invisible strings attached. Having a relationship with no invisible strings attached to you is very dependent upon becoming aware of those subconscious assumptions and expectations that you hold. For this reason, I ask you to watch my video that is titled Priceless Relationship Advice, Expectations and Assumptions. The next thing you have to do is to become aware of these contracts that you are forging on a subconscious level with people before you actually expect them to sign it. When do you really want to be giving something with no idea of what you will get in return? Notice the betrayal and unfairness you feel in all of your relationships, especially when it arises. Betrayal, again, is the breaking of a presumptive contract. The question is, which contract? I want you to remember that in a business transaction, the reason it often takes so long to settle on an agreement is because the companies go back and forth until they agree upon that contract. I cannot tell you how fast a company would be brought to lawsuit if what they did is sneak in some kind of a agreement that the other party didn't agree to. So we can't expect our relationships to go any better than that on an emotional level if this is what we're doing. Now, I'm just going to tell you, conscious contracts in a relationship, something where it's like, I'll give you this and you give me this, it's still painful, but it's 10 times better. Like, if you're conscious that it's a transaction, then both parties are agreeing to it. However, what you really wanted wasn't that. What you really want is to be loved. What you really want is for somebody to give you something or to do these loving demonstrations out of the sheer enjoyment of doing that for you because they've taken you as part of themselves. Become aware of the discomfort of feeling subservient and in debt when someone does something nice for you. Feel the pressure of having to even the score to feel free. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you to make a vow that you're not going to do anything for someone if you want something back. Unless you're going to be willing to express that expectation directly. This includes appreciation. I really want to focus on this because this is one of the most common and societally accepted transactions that we have. Our subconscious expectation is we're going to get appreciation back. I don't want you giving to anybody if even that is your expectation. Next, find a place in you that is able to love something so much that you can take it as part of yourself to the degree that you literally simply feel good when that thing feels good. Now, I don't really care if to begin with this is a person. It may not be. This may be something like a plant or an animal. I want you to experience the sensation of really giving to something because it just makes you so happy to see them feel good. The next thing is you have to develop healthy boundaries, and you have to give in alignment with those boundaries. In a healthy, non-transactional, unconditional loving relationship, there is always room for people's boundaries. And if there is a need conflict, the conversation is about the need conflict. It's not about you need to give in to me. For this reason, I ask you to watch my video titled Personal Boundaries versus Oneness, How to Develop Healthy Boundaries. It is better to acknowledge to somebody or to yourself, I don't want to give to this person at all, than it is to give something you don't want to give. It's better for you. It's better for the other person. So start to give people what your parents never gave you, or what other people who are into this transactional dynamic never gave you. Now, I'm going to explain something. Transactional-based relationships do not work for our self-esteem long-term. Why? Because what do you think that you're going to think of yourself if the only way that you can possibly get anything from someone else is to give them something? Worse than that, what do you think you're going to think of yourself if the only way to get what you need from somebody, because they can't possibly love you enough to take your needs into consideration, is to trap them into it? Now here's another thing. I want you to notice the ways that you are totally strings attached, not unconditional, in terms of your giving, with yourself. Do you give yourself a day of rest so you can be more productive and perform tomorrow? Do you nurture your body or give it what it needs with the expectation that it will never get sick or break down? Do you let yourself have fun with the expectation that you'll work to deserve it? Do you only feel appreciation for yourself when you give yourself an achievement? Begin to notice these subconscious contracts that you have with yourself. Notice how they mirror the transactions you had with your parents growing up, and practice demonstrations of love towards yourself without any expectation of return from yourself. Unconditional demonstration of love, this is no strings attached, is a type of love relationship where we give something without any idea of getting something back. We give it out of the pure desire to see somebody feel good in the receiving of it. Loving in this way is the act of extending yourself, vulnerabilities included, into uncharted emotional territory with the intent that regardless of the outcome, we want to benefit another person. When someone else's happiness is experienced as your happiness, you know you have found unconditional love. This unconditional, no strings attached love is the highest form of ecstasy that we can experience on this planet, and all beings on this planet deserve to experience this type of love. And let it start with you.